stay tuned here on The Journal. My name is Mmatsheko Mosito. Just in case you started listening, we're in each other's company until 12. And we get into conversations looking at the transformation of a particular metropolis, Johannesburg. Johannesburg's inner city has always been at the heart of the Gauteng province economic and cultural life. But years of urban decay, infrastructure challenges, and concerns around safety have changed the way many people experience the central business district. Now there is a renewed push, as we noted, to bring people back to the city centre, not just to visit, but to live, to work, to buy property, and I think most importantly, especially when we look at the future, to invest. So can Johannesburg's inner city become desirable again, if that's the word? And what will it take to actually restore confidence in the CBD, as it were? Let's have this conversation with Barba Gaoganediwe. I beg your pardon, from the Gauteng Tourism Authority. Barba, a pleasure to have you on the program. Welcome to Channel Africa.
Indeed, my pleasure to have you, for you to have me on your show. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. First things first, I think you are doing such amazing work with your podcast online. I get glimpses of it every now and again, and I think it's just such an important discourse that you're paving with people in in leadership positions that are really talking about how they're experiencing tourism, business investment, the province and the city of Johannesburg. So congratulations on that. I'd like to get a sense of how you actually started that, because that's quite a wonderful path that you've carved here.
Absolutely. And like you said in your intro, the city of Johannesburg and the Golden Province of Gauteng has always been an interesting destination and aspirational space, especially for the continent. When a child is born in Mbambani or in Blantyre, or a child is born in Maputo, can't wait to come to Johannesburg. It has always been Kwadonga Siyaduma. So the platform also serves to create a long format platform that continues these conversations, shares the story, reflects, you can imagine you grow up watching Nakedi Ribani, Mwatlara Wabudi Chaba Chaba, but now you have a chance to listen to her stories, to get to converse, and that's what we're trying to do to get the conversations going, but also use our collaborative infrastructure to build and shape this future. The gold is no longer underneath. The gold is now found in the 16.5 million people that makes up this province.
Absolutely. Such important work. And exactly like you're saying, it's literally like sitting in the living room and having a cup of coffee with you and your guests. But when we talk about reviving Johannesburg's inner city, let's talk about what success of that would look like.
We have actually seen what success has been like. That's our saying. Johannesburg has always been the hub that drives and pull everything, whether it's trade, whether it's investment, whether it's Africa's intertwined living. So we have seen that. We grew up seeing that. We've grown up seeing Hillbrow being referred to as the Manhattan long before Sandton was born. So the revitalization of the city of Johannesburg is not based on something far-fetched. It's based on what we have seen. The city will soon be turning 140 years. Therefore, as we march toward 140 years of the city of Johannesburg, it becomes the role of every role players to pull any remaining source of energy, look at the aspiration that was there before and turn it into something, for the coming generation, something, that drives aspirations of the rest of the continent. So success for us looks like people living in harmony, playing, working, staying, investing, and trading in the city, living side by side, observing the law, but driven by the desire to see Africa prospering.
Right, very, very important. But I'm interested to get a sense, from the perspective of the Gauteng Tourism Authority. When we close our eyes and we think of the CBD in Johannesburg, a lot of people still may associate it with crime, with grime, with urban decline. So how is the city planning perhaps to look at two perspectives? So look at how you're going to shape the perspective of people or change the perception of people about what the CBD is about, while also simultaneously making the tangible changes in the city.
Absolutely. But the most important way we're doing it is to involve the people in it, so that we don't create this discord where the people sit on the other side and see something as the CBD or town as something they go to get some vegetables and come back to their places of domicile, or it's a place you go and get some cheap stuff. So once we involve the people in the city's life, you create spaces and places for living, for working, for investment. That is why you will have seen the walk that we had, the Main Street Sundays, the opening up of venues like Hughes, Jazz, stuff, creating of the revitalization of the Joburg, things that are everyday living activities for residents, for investors, the setting up of the one-stop shop for trade and investment, and to also look at what made, for example, the CBD of Sentin discontinued aspirational space, and take those learnings and put them back in the city, to create parks for kids to be able to play, to create pathways to be able to have Main Street as a non-motorized facility where you will be able to have walkways, you'll be able to have greeneries, you should be able to have rooftop gardens where people, entrepreneurs, are interacting, to have yoga sessions, to have podcast studios, to have the broadcast and other media entities coming back into the city to revive Newtown and its cultural precinct. So it shouldn't be seen as something that is done on the side, people looking at it. The people of the city, who are the heartbeat of this city, needs to be involved in it. Hence, you've seen the Victoria Yards of this world. When locals take charge of their spaces and turn them into entrepreneurial activities, you start to see the revitalization of the city. When you start seeing Rea Vaya bus lane that moves from Sentin into the CBD, that moves from Waterfall into Sentin and into the CBD, you are now creating an interconnected city. You are not isolating the city as just a place to go do some work and come back to the place where you live or the place where you invest.
All right. Very important conversation we're having, looking at the revitalization of the Central Business District here in Johannesburg. On the line with Barba from the Gauteng Tourism Authority. Let's take a break and return.
Madapiri pazochitika. Madapiri pazochitika.
Malawi omwe athamangitsidwa mu dziko la South Africa chifukwa chokhala mu dzikolo opanda mapepala akupititsidwa ku Malawi. Kuti timve zambiri za momwe ntchito ikuyendera, pano tili ndi mkulu wa nthambi yona za mavuto kwa madzidzidzi ya Dodma ku Malawi, a Wilson Mulemi. Muli bwanji a Mulemi?
Ntchito iyi yagwirika ndipo tikuti anthu okwana 21,000 abwerera kuno kumuzi kuchoka ku South Africa, kumene magulu ena akuthamangitsa nzika za maiko ena.
Nanga amalawi amene akufuna kuti atengedwe kupita ku Malawi kuchoka ku South Africa padakali pano ochuluka bwanji?
Chimene chikumachitika nchoti pamene tikutenga anthu ena kubwerera kuno kumudzi, anthuso ochuluka akumakhala kuti akubwera m'makampu.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo, lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri.
The Journal with Mmatsheko Mosito.
Catch it on the Channel Africa app, SABC Plus, and on channelafrica.co.za. Weekdays from 9 till 12 p.m. Central African Time.
22 minutes into 11 a.m. in Central African Time. Thank you for staying with us here on The Journal as we continue conversations with Barba Gaoganediwe from the Gauteng Tourism Authority. And we're looking at the revitalization, meaningfully so, of the Central Business District in Johannesburg and how to get people to, starting to make a return into the city for leisure, for business, for investment, all the meaningful themes coming through. Baba, let's talk about, tourism, the place of tourism in this conversation. Can it actually play a significant role in being able to regenerate the inner city of Johannesburg?
Without a doubt. If you look at, for example, Park Station, probably one of the biggest transport hub on the African continent. And if you go there now and you look at the Park Station, me and you, we used to, when we were growing up, a completely different space. It's not just a place for minibus taxis and long distance buses. It interfaces with the Gautrain, it interfaces with PRASA system. So it becomes a real magnet. Anyone who will want to look at the interface between transport and tourism and culture and city living, Park Station is the destination to be. But equally, that becomes a cultural hub for underground spaces utilization, for poetry session, for musical events and the like. So that's just how we stand. So tourism in the city, tourism in the province, again, is not a standalone. It's an integral part of the city's life. When you have live music venues, when you have the ability to able to do street walks, take your families and everybody outing, when you have the ability to host events, but also when you have an ability to interact with the locals. Gone are the days where traditional tourism is the order of the day, where it's about the mountains, the animals, and the big infrastructure. Tourism right now, it's about interacting with the locals, drinking with the locals, dancing with the locals, eating with the locals. And this inner city of Johannesburg gives you that feel where you become fulfilled. It includes aspects around wellness and the like. So it will need all the role players. It will need cooperation from, for example, the Taxi Association. We have seen tremendous support from the likes of Santago, whom themselves have even created a tourism division within their ecosystem to work in hand with us as they form an important part of that. The city policing, we have taken lessons from some of the big cities. When everybody goes to Times Square in New York and take pictures with NYPD police, we want to be able to have a same feel of safety, interacting with our cops, being able to appreciate where is Cornhill. They should be able to direct you. They should be able to advise you to download the Visit Gauteng mobile app. Therefore, the interaction with our cops in our streets should be that meaningful and not right now with what we are having. So the tourism aspect, especially for a multicultural and loaded city like Johannesburg, should be very interesting prospects. And like I've said, as we march towards 140 years, and we can imagine what type of heritage is there housed in 140 years that started as just shanty towns providing facilities for the miners that were working here and now turning into Africa's sprawling metropolis with its own challenges of being the most flooded with the migrant issues coming in. They help in building the city when it started, and it's up to all of us to live side by side in reimagining the vision of a golden Johannesburg working in the next 140 years. So tourism is an integral part of this, whether it's in the CBD, whether it's in the adjacent places. There is just so much to do. You can look at the old trains that characterize the space. You can look at the tram lines that are in our cities as you do the Main Street Sunday. But most importantly, the stories of our tourism are housed in the communities, in the local informats that continue to make tourism work, but also make it their business.
100%. And I like the examples that you're making around, the new clubs that are opening, the Q club that's opened, which is just such a novel idea, and the Main Street Sundays that I've seen happening that are encouraging people to reclaim their experience of Johannesburg. But let's look at the positives now, and in terms of how people are experiencing the city. Are we seeing positive, signs regularly of people starting to return to the inner city and invest and buy property and make inquiries that are going to move the agenda forward?
Absolutely. So we have also, as the Gauteng Tourism, we have pulled together all the role players and make inner city living fashionable again, working, staying, playing in our town. So we pull together a campaign that supports the likes of the Main Street Sundays, the walks and the like. We call Arien Toropong. And Arien Toropong, it's exactly about that. It's about a place that you look forward to go to. You put on your best clothes, you put on your best walk, you get into the city to come and fall in love again with the city. We've seen some of the movies that are now coming out of Johannesburg. They are no longer about gangsters and robbing people. They are movies about city of love, city of infrastructure. And shout out to our producers who are buying into this vision. We can reclaim our inner city productions that are looking at property available in the city. When you look at some of the content, when you look at all these instruments that are there that guide on people on how to buy, what is missing is content and production that looks into opportunities in the inner city. So we're going back to the basics to get the basics right. When we're looking at somebody wearing a nice fitted dress and you say where you get it, says Arien Toropong, for me to show you where to get this. So that's the basics that we are pulling back, and we're quite excited with the involvement of the private sector in coming on this, because we know the disinvestment that happened when whites and blacks were living side by side in Hillbrow. We know the disinvestment that happened when the electricity and the water and the sewer were cut off to protest against the side-by-side living that was supposed to delegitimize the apartheid. Right now, it's important for private sector, for organized business, to equally take the responsibility of investing in the city, obviously with the support of the local community. So the property market is booming again. If you look at the precinct between Ellis Park, Maboneng and the Main Street Main is flourishing again. We look at the Palace of Justice and other hubs into Melville. Melville recently was voted amongst the coolest neighborhood in the world. So this bears testament to some of those positive and the efforts that are been happening. If you look at the cleanliness in the street, if you look at the installment of CCTV cameras in all corners of the city, these are some of the positives that starts to drive confidence, not just in the people coming back to the city, but in the portfolio of market, in the investment portfolio. And those are the ingredient of a livable, visitable and investable city.
100%. And ultimately, as you noted, this is not a revival that can happen through the efforts of government alone. The private sector, as you mentioned it, is involved, business owners, the resident, the community overall. Barba, thank you very much for sharing information so generously. All the best with this work and what the Gauteng Tourism Authority is embarking on at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mmatsheko, and for always your support and opportunity to share these thoughts. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Barba Gaoganediwe from the Gauteng Tourism Authority. It is 11:32. Fikile Lengwati standing by with the latest sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The Africa